Hi and welcome to the Hortons channel. I am Mike and I know some of you are already aware I'm usually behind the camera. However, Ben's off at the Bewley Spring Auto Jumble looking for rare finds and collectibles, so I'm here to present a video on the Supercar Fest 2025 at Sywell Aerodrome, Northampton, and we're really lucky because it happens right in front of our studios here at MGT Design. They've got a great lineup of cars that I can see coming off the transporters, and Iconic Auctioneers are here with a fantastic array of cars that are going into Saturday's auction. So come and follow me and let's go and see what's going on. So Iconic Auctioneers are here again at the Supercar Fest. Let's go and have a quick sweep around the cars and then I'm going to talk to you about some that really stand out to me. Come on, let's go. So as soon as I walked in, this Morgan really grabbed my attention, mainly because it's such a fantastic colour, but it turns out it's the last customer delivered Aero 8 and it only has its delivery mileage. So it's basically a brand new car. That's estimated between 110 and 130,000. This Ferrari 812 looks incredible. It's a gorgeous blue colour and it has the yellow pinstripe down at the bottom. That, however, is estimated between 255,000 and 275,000. Part next to it is a F430 and I've just checked, that's estimated between 80 and 90,000. So these are going up in value. I remember when you could pick these up for about 40 to 50,000. So again, if you'd been able to get one then at that price, that would have been a good investment. And part next to that is a Jaguar F-Type Project 7. That's estimated at around 110 to 130,000, which I believe was the price of these new. So if you'd bought one new, you get your investment back. Maybe next year, if they have another one here, we can see if they've gone up in value, but it will be interesting to see what that sells for. Here we have a Rolls-Royce Wraith and it looks awesome. It's done 27,500 miles, so it's been well used. However, it's estimated at between 120 and 130,000. That's the same as the Morgan, and I think I know which one I'd rather have. That is super cool, and you're going to feel $1 million in that car. If you're going to own a Ferrari, I think it has to be in red, and this is actually a subtle metallic red. It looks incredible. In the sunlight, it really glistens, and it's estimated between 150 and 180,000. I have a feeling they were around that new anyway, so this car is not coming down in price anytime soon. So this is a 1989 911 3.2 in Guards Red, and it looks incredible. The condition's fantastic, and so is the price. It's between 40 and 50,000. I think they came down quite a lot recently, and now they're clearly going up. It does get to a point with these cars though that you could get a much more modern 911 for a similar price. However, that shape's an absolute classic. And parked just here is a gorgeous black one, estimated between 75 and 90,000. Annoyingly, in 2010, I bought a Porsche Boxster. I paid around the £20,000 mark, and I remember seeing these for a similar price. And I now know which way one's gone up and which one's gone down. Maybe I should have gone for that. So here we've got a lineup of Escorts and Sierras. Now this one here, being an RS Cosworth, is estimated between 85 and 100,000. I remember when I was younger, my best friend's father worked for Cosworth, and he came into school one day saying that his dad had brought one home for the weekend and how cool it was, and I don't think you will ever forget that memory. And then my grandfather, he had a Sierra. That was always good fun, and I can't believe that is estimated between 30 and 40,000 pounds. That's an RS Cosworth. And then again, we've just got a whole row of these cars. So this black one between 100 and 120, 70 and 90,000 for the red one here, and this one 50 to 60. So I'm not 100% sure what makes them the price, unless I guess it's the, I don't know, that's done 17,000. That's done 97, so that should be worth less. And then this one's done 43,000. They're all E and D reg, so that's what, between 1987, 1986. I'd have to understand more what determines their price. But yeah, and then we end with a lovely classic Escort. So this Defender's pretty cool. I hadn't realised till I just walked around it. It's actually B reg, so that makes it what, 1985, and it's been restored and painted in this really cool Lamborghini blue Colon paints. And yeah, it's kind of like a resto mod there with those lights. 35 to 40,000. You probably couldn't do it yourself for that, so I think that's a good buy. One not for the fields though, I may add. And I just heard someone walk by and call it a Chelsea tractor. But yeah, I like it. So this Porsche 356 is estimated between 75 and 85,000 pounds. I don't think that's too bad. Modern classics such as the 911s we've just looked at and the Sierras, they seem to be going right up. And I don't know if the price on these are coming down. I don't know if they're less desirable, but I like it and it stands out. Talking about cars that stand out, we've got this Alfa Romeo 2000 GTV, and it has this pink corner painted onto the front. I don't know why, it kind of looks cool, it suits the car. And then we've got this Escort, which is a multi-championship winning Escort, and it's priced around 50,000, which 50 to 70. I don't think that seems too bad. So that looks cool, and everyone's going to see you coming in that, right? So this is incredible. They've got two Fiestas here, both in the same colour, both in very good condition. This one's done 78,000 and it's estimated between 15 and 18,000. So this is a Fiesta Super Sport. And then over here, they have got a Fiesta XR2 Mark 1. Now, what's incredible is I noticed the number plate being SNV, and living here in Northampton, I've got to show you this. Up the road from us, which is now a Lidl's unfortunately, was Alexander's of Northampton. And on the back of here, it's got the original sticker, which I guess has been recreated to be in such good condition. That brings back memories, because I remember seeing that Ford garage every time we drove past it, either on the way or it was actually opposite a local McDonald's and Tesco's, so we'd always see it. Now, one thing I must add though, this is estimated between 25 and 30,000, but it says here in the blurb that the current owner has spent over 100,000 restoring it from a bare metal project upwards. Bad investments, I'd say. Unfortunately, it's great that that chap's gone and done it to produce something that looks absolutely stunning. However, that's £75,000 down the drain, and now he's selling it. So yeah, he could have put that elsewhere, I guess. Let's carry on having a look to see what we can find. Actually, that's a lovely one. As we're on to Fords right now. This is a Ford Escort RS, and that is estimated between 70 and 90,000. RS 2000 Mark 1 from 1974. I absolutely love these Camaros. When I've been in the States, especially for Monterey Car Week, or well, I've been in LA, you see these absolutely everywhere. This is the equivalent to seeing, I don't know, like a BMW 3 Series here in this country. But I know they sound fantastic. They're a great homage to the original Camaros, and for between 28 and 34,000 pounds, I think that's a great price. So sticking with American themed cars, this is a Shelby Mustang, a CS 800, and it looks super cool. It's valued around £55,000, which is up there, but you're getting a beast for your money. So we're talking about feeling $1 million in the Rolls-Royce Wraith. This is a Bentley Azure, and it looks incredible. The color's amazing, perfect for the Azure name. I think if you were traveling along the coast of the south of France, along the Côte d'Azur, this is the perfect car. However, the Rolls-Royce might be better if you're doing some city traveling, but they're both awesome cars. Drop in the comments which one you'd prefer. I am so 50-50. Again, I think it just depends on where it needs to be used. But yeah, the sheer size of this car and its presence makes it really cool. So this is an RS200 recreation, which caught my eye because Hortons Books have recently acquired Stuart Turner's collection. I mean, it looks near enough the same, but it says here in the blurb it's estimated between 110 and 130,000, and the previous owner spent 150,000 getting it to this state, and it's not technically a genuine RS200. So again, that's a lot of money to spend on a car that they're not going to recoup. Oh, retro power Stratos. So again, it's a take. Okay, there you go. Caught me by surprise. It's a replica again. It's a take on the Stratos, and wow, 140 to 160,000 for that. I'm less impressed with it now. I realised it's not genuine. I just showed you the Camaro not that long ago. Now that is one of the most awesome American cars, a Corvette Stingray, and obviously it's in left-hand drive. 40 to 45,000. I don't think that's too bad if you want to get into classic cars, and if you like American classics, that's a lovely shaped car to get. Here we've got the another Bentley. Now this is really good value. 23 to 26,000. That is incredible. That is definitely champagne lifestyle with lemonade money. And I think compared to the Azure at 110,000, that's a lovely sort of car for the money. And they've got the coupe version here, 18 to 22,000. You look, the bee's knees in that for little money. This is a 1987 BMW M3, and I love it. That is such a cool car to kind of float around in, drop the roof back. However, it's estimated at between 87 and 100,000 pounds. You could get a brand new one, the latest shape BMW M4 for around that, you know, couple of years old. And sadly, as cool and classic as this is, I would much prefer the newer one. So it depends what you're after, but for that money, maybe we could go for a non-M3 variant to rattle around in, and then go for a more modern one that sticks to the road and you know it's going to do some good. Now they've got here a 911 barn find. Mechanically, I don't know how it runs, but I must admit the paintwork looks fantastic on it. I wouldn't even say it's hard to tell. If that just had a wash and a polish, I think they could have added value to this. But it's the star of the show, right? They've left it looking like that. They've left it how they've found it. And like I said, you can just see there's no bubbling in the paint. It looks pretty good to me. So the best bit is inside the car. The seats look brand new. There's a tiny bit of mildew on them and there's that slight mold smell, but apart from that, I think if you kept that open for a while and used a dehumidifier, then that would get rid of that. And cars of this age have that smell anyway. So yeah, £20,000, that's where I'd put my money. So that was the outside cars of Iconic Auctioneers, and I've come inside to find some very special cars, including this. This is a Ferrari 812 Competizione, and that's valued at 1.2 million. And if you've got a bit of spare change after that, there's this. This is a Ferrari SF90, and so an SF90 Stradale, and that's valued at 260 to 290,000 pounds. Now, this gets me very excited because I remember as a little boy, my parents have a Porsche 944 that they got in 1989, and when I was little we would go to get the car serviced, and I remember seeing this very car, which I'm going to duck down to because unfortunately I won't be fitting in that car anymore. But I had dreams of driving it to school and impressing all the girls because I could offer them a lift home if I was lucky enough to have one of those. Unfortunately, I didn't, but when I was a bit older, I did buy a bigger one of my own. And for my own children, I've bought them a Lamborghini Gallardo little ride-on toy, but the quality and build isn't the same as that. And then this caught my eye. What's that valued at? So this is an Austin Healey 100 Cape Works Special, and it looks like it's a bit of a resto mod, and that's valued at 100,000. So I don't know, is that a good price? I know not that long ago they were between what, 40 and 60,000 for an Austin Healey. That does look pretty cool. And then we've got modern 911s like this in here, and that for 60 to 70,000 pounds, I think I would much rather have this than have one of the 1980s, sadly, for that money. That car's gonna perform better, it's gonna stick to the road, and I love it, actually. I could see myself in this. That's very nice. So I've come back outside the tent into this little VIP area they have. What really stands out for me is this 1950s Corvette, and it looks stunning inside and out. It's this incredible orange, and if we have a look here, the inside is in the same Satsuma tangerine coloured orange. It just looks incredible. And then next to it we've got a Shelby GT 500, and this shape Mustang has been made very famous from films like Bullet with Steve McQueen, Gone in 60 Seconds, and more recently the John Wick series. So that looks really nice. And then next to here we've got the Ferrari 328. Again, another iconic car from, well, a TV series, Magnum PI. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour of the auction here, which is happening on Saturday. Let's go and see what's happening now in the main field, where all the supercars are being taken off the trailers and put on display. just walked past this incredible looking car, which is a Praga Bohema, and I've met the director of Praga Bohema here, Jan. So, is this a brand new brand?
It is not. Praga was actually started in 1907 and is a continuation. There's a continuation history since 1907, so not a new brand entirely.
So what's the complete history of the brand then?
So some interesting facts. Praga was one of the premium car manufacturers in the heyday of Czechoslovakian car manufacturing. So before the World War, in the 20s, Praga was the largest Czechoslovakian car manufacturers, producing more cars than Skoda and Tata put together. Anything from tiny little Praga babies to the presidential limousines, Praga Grands with V8. But Praga also produced trucks, buses, trains, tractors, planes, whatever with an engine in it, Praga used to produce it. Then came the small issue of Second World War, where Praga mostly produced tanks, and then after Second World War was communism, and then during communism, unfortunately, it was going from privately owned to state-owned, and the state decided that we don't need that many car manufacturers in Czechoslovakia, therefore Skoda will be producing cars, Tatra will be producing heavy trucks, and Praga will be producing light trucks and gearboxes and other components for the other manufacturers like Avia, Lias, Karosa, and the other manufacturers in the region. So for the next 40 plus years, it was mostly trucks and gearboxes. Then after the Velvet Revolution 1989, again going back to privately owned, difficult era, facing the Western competitions with the trucks. Praga ceased to produce trucks in 2006, but it kept manufacturing the gearboxes and other things. They came the go-kart era, so Praga's got 2 world titles in last, 12 years. One of the largest go-kart manufacturers in the world. We manufacture racing cars. We have a small airplane business. We test airplane engines. We manufacture trailers, and so there are other parts to the business. Very active, and this is essentially bringing Praga back to producing cars. So this is the first Praga production car since 1947, but there's a continuing history of Praga since 1907 in the automotive world.
So were they sports cars in 1947?
So you should think about Praga before Second World War more in the Volkswagen terms.
Okay.
So it was even a department of much larger company, and the mother company was manufacturing or making bridges and steam engines, locomotives, and it was a massive company, and the car manufacturing was sort of like, okay, well, it sounds like a good idea, so let's add that to the portfolio. But looking at it from the perspective of the larger company, Praga was never into racing as such. The motto of Praga was that Praga are vehicles for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Praga will get you anywhere. Funnily enough, the very early Pragas from like 1911, I think all the way until like 1916, 1917, they had a snail at the front cooler.
Amazing.
And the reason was not because it was about it at the time. It wasn't about speed. They weren't really roads. It was about Praga will get you anywhere.
Oh, okay.
So, and because Praga was producing trucks and trailers, the very first trucks and trailers for the Austrian-Hungarian army, they just thought, okay, well, let's replace horses, and Praga was the supplier. And because Praga won their biggest competition from 1911 for the supply of these first trucks, and it was exactly because of that, because there was a race of trucks and trailers. There were some requirements, and they won over the entire competition, over 2,000 kilometers, over mountains, etc. So since then they were using snails because Praga would get you anywhere. And that was all the way until Praga won Praga was involved in the not really about in like speed competition, but it was always reliability competitions. So it was that sort of races where you had multiple cars and they all had to finish, and this is what was the interest of the Praga management at the time, and they didn't really care about speed as much. It was all about reliability and mass production and all that. So, but there were some notable successes. There was in 1933 was the first year when in Czechoslovakia they dropped the I'm not sure about the number, but I think it was 15 or 20 kilometer an hour speed limit. So the first year when they dropped it, there came a race which was called 1,000 miles of Czechoslovakia. It was similar to Targa Florio, that sort of thing, and the chief engine test engineer of Praga, he slightly modified his Praga Alpha with a straight six magnesium block 2-liter engine, and he won the race with an average speed of close to 80 kilometers an hour at that time, over 1,000 miles, with the roads as they were. And so he won the first race, and it was definitely notable for Praga. And for the next year, Praga entered the competition with a race car called the Praga Super Piccolo, built only for that race. And it's a very aerodynamic car, and if you ever see a photo of the car, then thing about that car being produced in 1934. If you put that into a context and think about it in 1936, 37, 38, it wouldn't be that surprising. But in 1934, it was that was the year when the Praga 77A, so the first production aerodynamic car, was introduced. And you compare these two cars, it's quite a something. But the Super Piccolo wasn't a production car, so some interesting facts.
So that was a groundbreaking car of its time.
Oh yeah, it was definitely very interesting technically.
Brilliant. And you mentioned you make go-karts, so has anyone famous raced your go-karts?
Sure, there was plenty of race drivers who went through this sort of like a Praga college, but out of the others, it was George Russell. He won his first European title on a Praga chassis, Intrepid Praga chassis, which was at the time.
Well, that's something good. You should get him back to drive one of these cars.
Yeah, it would be nice. Maybe he's around tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and this is a great car.
Thank you very much, and we're here all weekend, but we're also going to be at the Goodwood. We're going to have a stand. We're going to be handing over not the first, but one of the early customer cars. So
that's amazing. Well, we should exchange details, because we'll be at Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Perfect.
We'll be covering that there ourselves, so maybe we'll come back and see you.
Sounds good.
That's brilliant. All right, well, thank you very much.
No problem. Cheers. Have a good day.
So I hope you enjoyed that little tour of them setting up here for the Supercar Fest 2025 in Sywell Aerodrome, Northampton. I very much enjoyed interviewing Jan from Praga, Bohemia, and going through the cars at the Iconic Auctioneers. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one.